It's September 11th, 2021. 2021. I remember where I was when it happened. 9/11 was my first day at work. I was working at a middle school. I must have been 20. I think I was 20. I think I was 20. Or 21. I was in my 20s, early 20s. I remember what I was wearing. A black tank top, spaghetti tank top, with a cardigan, and a violet skirt that I cut and sewed for myself, make it shorter. I'm Mary Jane. I was a teacher's assistant at Giano Intermediate School, Roland Heights, and I remember that day. I remember that morning. It's funny. I remember in school they made it similar to like other events, national events, right? Where people remember where they were. Like, you know, JFK's assassination, MLK's assassination, like just these moments in time that are a generational impact, if you will. But I remember. And I remember when I would see the memorials and the TV recaps of that event, how painful it was to just relive it, really, right? I mean, you gotta find the balance between remembering the event, to honor it for what it brought out, but not get stuck in reliving the trauma, right? Trauma. Finding a balance between honoring what happened to and then it just depends on the trauma, right? There's some traumas that they don't want to remember. I was just reading about it yesterday, so I'm freshening up on my clinical skills, and just the labeling. Like, I've never really been good with putting names to things and names to people, and so like even certain interventions, like I know what I need to do, but to put it like words are, I struggle. It's like this love-hate relationship with words. And so I made a commitment. I'm like, okay, three types of therapies a day. When I'm writing it out, I'm making myself like these like cheat sheets, if you will, just to remind myself, like, okay, that's right, that's what it was. Okay, that's right. And the language, the lingo, right, that I have to use when I'm having to document after the session. To not seem incompetent. Someone once told me, she's like, you need to be mindful with your words, right? I guess I've been told that one too many times. To not seem incompetent. I'm just like, it's hard sometimes to stick it, for me to, I shouldn't say that. All words come easily. All words come easily. I get the words like this. I'm putting putting barriers for myself just by saying it, right? It's funny. And you don't realize what you're doing. You do it all the time. But I was thinking, actually, it's funny, because I this morning, the theme in my mind was this limitations and barriers, right? Limitations that we're born with, and I don't know if I mentioned it. So a loved one of mine has a learning disability, or was diagnosed with a learning disability in high school. And I remember attending that IEP meeting, and I remember some of the examples that they provided that insinuated that this person had an auditory processing disorder. That they were able to not hear the drums but feel the drums is what how this person responded when they were given that open-ended, like, you know, I hear the music, I blank the drums. And this person, instead of saying I hear the drums, said I feel the drums. And I'm just thinking, I'm just like, oh yeah, you feel the drums. You feel the beat of the drums, the vibration of the drums. Why would that be considered an auditory processing disorder? I mean, I'm sure there were other questions, but that was the example she gave, and it stuck with me. It stuck with me because I'm just like, I would have answered the same thing. Even now, like, I struggle with certain how I communicate. I catch myself where instead of saying like I hear something, it's the feeling of it. Like I don't have the examples of it right now. But anyways, that experience inspired a poem which I wrote in response to another email that I sent about what is poetry. Where was I going with that? Oh, limitations. I'm getting new clients, and I'm looking at a chart, and there's, you know, I mean, there's this just common theme with all clients who seek help, right? This looking at themselves in parts, not feeling whole and complete within themselves, right? Feeling like there's parts of themselves that are, in essence, broken or not functioning to the level of society, right? And so then that makes one feel inadequate to a certain degree, depending in what part in their life it's being stressed, right? Whether it's in school or whether it's with social groups. And then I was reflecting on my own development, right? Experience. And had it not been, and I was sharing this with my friend Gary, I was like, had it not been for these forced interactions in my life at a young age, I don't think I would have socialized the way I socialized. I mean, I remember my mom telling me that she was worried about me because I didn't play with anybody, that I was content just sitting by myself, you know, on the couch with my book and my pad and paper, like, and pen, and just doodling, writing, coloring, drawing mostly, and reading. And she said, you were content just like that. And she's like, and I worried about you. And she said that she forced me. I mean, I have my kindy friend, but my kindy friend and I, we didn't see each other at school. Like, even though we went to school together, we never I don't have any memories of us playing at school. I remember us hanging out on the weekends. Our moms were best friends, but at school, like, I distinctly remember, I'm like, I don't like her. I remember I didn't like her. There were parts of her I didn't like. And she was really girly girl, and I never identified as a girly girl. Like, I remember thinking, like, I don't like to play. Even my mom says, she's like, you never played with dolls. For the longest time, I thought something was wrong with me. For the longest time, I thought something was wrong with me because I didn't want to have children. I didn't see myself like other people saw girls. And it wasn't until my mom said, you never liked to play with dolls growing up, that I was like, oh, okay, thank goodness, because I'm just like, it makes sense then. It wasn't something that I was struggling with just as an adult. Like these were memories that I didn't remember, I didn't have. So she's sharing with me. Because I asked her, I'm like, why did I never get dolls growing up? My sister did, but I didn't. She's like, you never liked them. I'm like, really? She's like, nope, you never liked playing with dolls. I was like, okay, that makes sense. And then I remember in elementary school, lately I've been thinking a lot about that lately, and there were these tomboys, and I identified with them. I'm like, that feels comfortable to me. And I remember being more sporty, if they will, in that way growing up. But even then, like, no one liked to play with me. I remember no one liked me. I don't know why. It could be because I was like, you could say I was like a teacher's pet. I love learning and I love my teachers. I remember that. Everything else I didn't really like about school because it was uncomfortable. And I remember I would just stare at kids. Like when I was really young, I would just stare at kids play. And I remember even wondering, like, how does my sister make friends and I can't? And my sister was 5, okay? We're like 5 years apart. So I was like 10, 11. But then when my mom said, I had to force you to play with our neighbor. And I remember what neighbor she was talking about. And then I was trying to remember, well, when did this neighbor come into our lives? I was like 9, 10. So I still didn't have really friends. Like, I didn't play with people except my siblings. So I realized, had my siblings not been there, I probably would have been like a loner. I mean, I was still to a certain degree, but, and then just seeing the other people, I mean, we lived with a lot of family too, so that helped. But even like, I went to, then at that point, at 10, 11, I went to a smaller school. And again, the friends that I developed there were because they were my mom's friends. So we were kind of forced to kind of meet, and because of the situation that we were going to these schools, we were forced to, like, okay, we don't know anybody else, so we're gonna latch onto each other because we don't know anybody else. So it was by default. It was always by default that I developed these friendships. And then there was always a certain point in that friendship where I'm like, this doesn't feel right. And I would pull myself away because I saw myself becoming a version of myself that I didn't like. Like I started bullying and teasing other kids, and I realized, I'm like, that's not me. Why am I doing it? I'm doing it to please the group that I'm in. And so I pulled back. And then I went to another group, right? And then and it was because of that small setting, I stayed there until junior high, so it was comfortable. Moved to high school, we totally moved to another city, and it was like starting all over again. And those first 2 years was so hard. Like I tried, and again, the person that was my friend, and I follow her on Instagram now. She's wonderful. She sat in front of me. We happen to have the same last name. We were sat in alphabetical order. My last name. She happened to also move into the same town. So, and she was of a different race. Like she was Caucasian. And so it was a different world. And I moved into a more affluent area then. Me not feeling like I belonged. And still not feeling like I belonged. And so we became friends by default, but we were in different classes because I was a little smarter, not super smart, but a little smarter enough to be put in these other classes. And so I was never around her and the group of friends that she did. She was very social, like the opposite of me. And so I struggled still, and I gave it 2 years, and I told my parents, I'm like, I'm giving this 2 years. If not, I'm going back. And I struggled, and I gave it 2 years. I was like, I'm done. I'm done trying. Like, this doesn't feel right. I tried to get involved, but it was so hard because everything was so expensive. And I knew that financially we weren't well off enough to really partake in those events in that manner. So I begged my parents. I'm like, I want to go back. Put me back in the, like, in my community, right? Middle class, like, or not even middle class, I mean, the lower socioeconomic status, right? But anyways, just thinking about limitations and the things that hold us back. one of my new clients has characteristics of being on the spectrum, and thinking about like, I read some of what was there. I was like, it just, you feel it, and it resonates with me because I've had flavors of it, and so then it's just like, how do I help, right? Like, just conceptualize emotions and conceptualize these abstract concepts for them. Even those with learning disabilities, right? How do you do that in a way where they can get it, where it resonates, where there's a connection? But anyway, so that's been on my mind. Meditated. So like, just pulsing the bottom, that was it. Couldn't get into it very long because my music wasn't working, and then I have a client actually in a little bit that I need to connect to. But on a good note, I'm negative for COVID. Yay. Wearing a new dress I've never worn before, and after I'm done, I'm gonna head to that autumn festival in Chinatown and enjoy myself today and see what unexpected surprises unfold. That happens to be the title of the video that I posted today. Looking for unexpected surprises. So we'll see if that resonates with how the day is unfolding today. We'll see. All right, that was it. My little rant for the morning. Take care.
My name is Yubi, and in case you haven't figured it out, this footage is capturing my experience as I learn to navigate my personal spiritual awakening. I am learning that this experience is unique to each one of us. In whatever way we believe we are embracing living our truth, this just happens to be my journey. And despite me having a graduate degree and a license in clinical social work, this by no means is intended to replace any type of mental health advice. This is just me on a personal level, documenting my experience, shedding light on the truth that I am learning and discovering for myself, and really inviting you along for the ride. If by some magical chance you find this content to be helpful in any way, shape, or form, please click the like button, share the message, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I have an Instagram account, a personal one, and one specifically for this channel that you're more than welcome to check out. I'm an open book. I have also created t-shirt designs. I'm wearing my favorite one right now, which is the North Node design, but I have that and other things that you can look at inspired by this process and journey, and I have the link in the description box as well as in the about section of my YouTube channel. So you're more than welcome to check those items out. Any type of support is great. Again, if you find this content really helpful or meaningful, sometimes when we take that step and be vulnerable, with showing what's inside our hearts and what's really our truth, we realize that we're much more connected than what we thought we were. And so I hope that as I'm living this experience and that you find some type of truth for yourself, or find some type of ability to heal in some way just by relating, just by knowing that you're not alone. That really has been my goal with this process, not just being able to connect with others, but really for my own healing. It's definitely been a therapeutic experience and a very creative one for myself. So I thank you, and I wish you all the best, and we'll see what else comes next for me.